It's time to pick a side. The border war is on the air with BG and 10. All right, true believers, welcome into the Border War, episode 87. Is that right?
No.
What?
No.
What is it?
I'm pointing to the number.
I know that's why I messed it up, because you were being obnoxious about it. Episode 82, TanMan. It is hate week.
What's the official name of the South Carolina Clemson football game?
Palmetto rivalry.
Is it much of a rivalry?
Not according to Dabo. It's never been a rivalry.
Man, I would argue that the last 10 years it hasn't been much of a rivalry, but we'll talk about that. BG, the Gamecocks and the Gamecocks and Tigers square off down in Death Valley this week. I'm just hoping that you can come up with something to convince me that this is going to be worth putting on the TV for more than the first 10 minutes of the football game Saturday.
Well, I'll say this. I
think I can convince you that it's not.
I think it's the kind of game that you'll know in the first 10 minutes if it's worth watching. I still maintain that the last two games, while they were both very one-sided, were one-sided because of slightly different reasons. The first team that Muschamp took to Death Valley 2 years ago, that was beaten 56-7, was obviously outmatched, had absolutely no prayer of keeping that game close. And last year, while the game did end up being a pretty one-sided score, it was obviously not nearly that one-sided. And I feel like a lot of that was South Carolina.
Well, you said last year wasn't one-sided?
No, I did not say that. You're not even listening to me. It was extremely one-sided, but the reason it ended up being so one-sided so quickly was just South Carolina doing stupid stuff. Letting the punt go into the end zone, running the wrong pass route on a slant, throwing a pick six because the receiver ran the wrong route. Things like that early on that were scripted. I mean, those are mental mistakes that obviously show South Carolina was psyched out the way they've been in every big game.
I was going to say, that was over before it ever got started last year.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Over. I mean, so we don't know. Now, the question is there any reason to believe that South Carolina is more mentally prepared? I mean, I do think there's a talent differential here that's obvious. However, I think if South Carolina played its best game, then yeah, I think this could be a game until halftime. I don't think it's a game in the fourth quarter. But I think that's – I mean, I'm not trying to tell people, there's no hope, whatever, because really we're trying to market the show here, but I'm not going to just say stuff I don't think is true. South Carolina needs to show progress against Clemson. That's really what we're talking about here.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I think that's the big thing.
You could say South Carolina's goal should be to cross the 50-yard line with their offense against Clemson's first-team defense, because they haven't done that in 2 years.
I think you hit the nail on the head. If I'm a Gamecock fan, I just want to go in this thing and
you want to be competitive.
I want to be competitive. I don't want to feel like halfway through the second quarter, I can go and
that you're not on the same.
I can go turn on the Blacklist reruns or something. I mean, put a team out there that
just
looks
real
like
quick,
you halfway belong on the field.
Season 5 of the Blacklist finally made it onto Netflix. If there's ever a show that needs a last season recap to start, it's that one.
Well, it's not supposed to come back until February.
Well, there was no recap. I watched the first episode. I had to go read on Wikipedia. I couldn't remember anything that happened.
Speaking of off topic, you ever seen the show Shades of Blue?
Once.
Jennifer Lopez, Ray Liotta. Yeah. I thought it was a good show. They went 2 years without making an episode, and then all of a sudden, I look up and they're all on Netflix, or all on Hulu, and it just ended. We just saw the end of it, but it did. They went 2 years without making a show.
I know Ray Liotta quit smoking because of some drug. Chantix. Yeah, it works. It does.
He quit smoking and had a lot of plastic surgery. He did not look like that whenever I saw him in Spartanburg about 10 years ago, but that's a story for another time.
You certainly send me that clip of him laughing in Goodfellas about once every week,
because that might be the greatest movie ever made.
I'm surprised you've even seen it.
Yeah, that Goodfellas,
I think Clemson's going to win this game.
The only two
I think Clemson's going to win this game.
Oh, you're giving away the picks list.
Nah, I think they're going to. No, that's not the spread. We're picking against the spread. Look, I mean, I don't know. I think it's really, really dangerous for South Carolina to continue fans to measure the success of this program's growth by whether or not they can beat Clemson. But they absolutely have to go up there and compete. They have to. Look, Jake Bentley has to. If he has that deer in the headlights look again, then I really question.
The last 4 games in this series, Clemson has outscored South Carolina 162-66. That's 40-16.
Well, that includes one game the year that they played for the national title with Deshaun that they sleptwalked through that game, man.
What it wound up being, you wound up scoring a touchdown at the very end.
Scored a trash touchdown on the last play of the game to make it, 37-32, something like that.
But Clemson has owned this thing. The 5 years before that, South Carolina owned it. None of these games were really close. I know Will Muschamp got asked the other day about patience and should South Carolina fans be patient, and he was very defensive about that. He wanted no part of that. He said their goal is championships, and that should be the fans' expectation. You've kind of hit on it, I guess, but should South Carolina fans, I guess have a little patience, or should they be like, man, I'm tired of getting my head kicked in this thing, and should they be really frustrated about it?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I guess my thing is, what I'm tired of are South Carolina fans that seem to think South Carolina football started in Spurrier's 6th year. Because, South Carolina has been a mediocre program at best for 100 years. And virtually everything meaningful that's happened in South Carolina football, save one season under Joe Morrison in 1984, of which you're most famous for losing at home to an unranked Navy team when you could have won the national title. Other than that season, I mean, everything that's happened that you can talk about in any sport at South Carolina, unless you want to go back to the 60s and 70s in college basketball, happened since Lou Holtz was hired, right? The year 2000. He was hired in 99, but in 2000 he started winning.
To me, that's basically when South Carolina became an actual football team.
Became an actual athletic program that was trying to compete and trying to win. And people need to remember, the thing we're trying to catch up to is moving at the speed of light. You tell me how many schools in the country, how many teams in all of Division I college football could go into Clemson Saturday night, 7 o'clock kickoff, and compete with this team? How many?
4.
Right. And here's the thing. We're not as good as those 4 or 5 teams. And so, it just, I get what you're saying, but there's no point in, that's like yelling at the earth because it won't let you fly. I don't know. I mean, you can yell about being frustrated, of course, man. I mean, I'm tired of the whole Clemson narrative. I'm tired of every year seeing my Facebook and my Twitter feed filled up with these stories. I mean, about how I took my baby daughter to a South Carolina game and the fans threw her off the top deck and she's dead now. They worship the devil. I know. There have been multiple babies murdered by South Carolina fans, but I'm tired of hearing about it. I mean, I'm tired of the narrative. I'm tired of Brent Venables, being triggered enough to mention that people have yelled "Roll Tide" to him, and it probably only happened when they were about to play Alabama.
Yeah.
I'm tired of this whole narrative that South Carolina is whatever it is. But, what can you – I mean, all you can do is keep recruiting, keep practicing. If Muschamp's not the guy, then eventually he's going to get fired, man. I don't know what to tell you, but this week is not the culmination of all of that.
I don't know, minus Jim Harbaugh at Michigan, I don't know that there is a coach in America right now who needs a signature win, in my opinion, more than Will Muschamp.
But this isn't going to be it, man.
Well, I know that, but I'm making a point. South Carolina, I went back and looked at Muschamp's tenure at South Carolina.
1-10.
They have beaten 3 conference teams that ended the season with a winning record.
Yeah.
I mean, they have basically, they beat a ranked Tennessee team, his first year there down in Columbia. And other than that, they basically beaten.
They're 1-10 versus ranked teams. 1-10.
Well, I was going to say they're barely beating teams that even have just winning records. Will Muschamp needs a signature win. This would do it.
Oh my Lord!
I mean, this
would erase everything.
A win Saturday for Muschamp would probably give him a 10-year contract.
Let's just say it. This would be the biggest win in the history of the rivalry for either team. No, there's no question. South Carolina went up there in 1984, but that was a really good South Carolina team and beat a Clemson team that hadn't lost at home in 27 games.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
I can't think of another one.
I'm thinking
1987, both teams were ranked in the top 10.
I'm thinking the Steve Tannehill signature thing, but I think that all that did was keep Clemson out of a bowl game.
Well, yeah, it was a Clemson team that wasn't playing for a national title.
They weren't that great. You might be right.
I don't think there's any way around it.
I mean, a couple keys. If South Carolina's going to win, a couple keys to this. And I'm getting ready to tell you why they're not, and it's probably not going to be close.
Can we not? I mean, why are we doing the if South Carolina's going to win thing? What is that? South Carolina's not going to win.
Well, I'm saying if they have any prayer, if they have any idea that they want to win,
then it's going to look like the Ole Miss game looked.
See, I don't think so. You want to stop ETN? South Carolina's 93rd in the country in rush defense. You want to get to Trevor Lawrence? South Carolina is 92nd in the nation in sacks. You want to force some turnovers? They're 112th in the nation in forcing turnovers.
Oh, by the way, our best pass rusher not playing out for the rest of the year.
You want to keep the Clemson offense off the field a little bit. You're 127th in time of possession. And the last thing, before the season, you and I both thought this Clemson defense, their secondary, if there's a vulnerable part, that's it. The Tigers are 6th in the country in pass plays of plus 10 yards. Where's a weak spot? Where can South Carolina realistically attack to make this a football game?
Well, I disagree with the whole keeping Clemson off the field thing. If you come out and try to run the ball on this team, you have no chance. I'd be fine if South Carolina doesn't run the ball a single time. Not once. There is you may as well just call that a dead down. You have got to throw the ball.
South Carolina's defense is not going to stop Clemson ever. So if they have any idea that they want to keep this a ball game,
then the only way to do it is to outscore them.
You're not going to outscore them.
Well, if you're not going to outscore them, TanMan, you're going to lose the game. That's how
you're not going to be able to stop them. Your defense might be one of the worst 3 defenses in the country. Keep your defense off the field, man. Don't even put them out there. And the more you the more you speed things up, and the more you try to hurry up, you are doing exactly what Clemson wants you to do.
Let's quit talking about but eventually the only way to win this game is to beat them. You can't hope that you have 73 plays in a row where really lucky things happen. If you're going to have any prayer to win this game, the only way is to hope that Jake Bentley would have to play out of his mind.
And Jake Bentley has.
We would have to play.
A month ago, everyone was ready to throw the dirt on Jake Bentley, and since then he's been pretty close to amazing.
He's been great, but and that's what I'm saying. Go with that momentum because, all right, let's look at the Florida game. I think that's the best thing we can compare this to. In the first half, when it was clicking, Florida does not have Clemson's defense, but Florida has a very solid defense. I think other than Georgia, it's the only defense we've played that's even in the conversation with Clemson's defense. Okay, so in the first half, how did we have success running the ball? When they didn't think we would run the ball. We never just lined up and ran it on first down and got yardage. And what lost us that game was in the second half, especially in the fourth quarter, running in obvious running situations, and they stuffed it. So if you run the ball against Clemson, you have to do it to the outside, and you have to do it on plays when they're not expecting to run, and you have to have Jake run those RPOs where he basically decides to run it based on what he sees. But 75% of our positive plays are going to have to be throwing the ball, and I don't mean downfield throws. I'll say this. For Clemson to lose this game, Deebo Samuel has to run back a punt or a kickoff.
Well, if he runs back the opening kickoff, the game will be over.
You're
right?
an idiot. You didn't listen to a word I said that day. That's what I'm talking about.
If he runs back the opening kickoff, the game will be over. Look,
if you run back the opening kickoff in a game, whether you have a 2-point spread, then yes, the game's over.
Look, I disagree. I think you got caught in the Florida game. You got caught getting overly conservative. It wasn't because you just wanted to run. I think that you got to.
But it showed that we cannot run the football when it is a let's line up on 3rd and 1 and get if Clemson thinks we're going to run, they're going to stop the run.
I'm not saying hold up a sign that says we're going to run every time from the sideline so that everybody in the stadium can see it. What I'm saying is they've got to take a little bit more of a methodical approach to their offense. It doesn't mean turn around and hand the ball off every single time. I'm saying you have to take a little bit more methodical, careful approach to your offense. Don't be in that big of a hurry because, like I said, it's going to be an uphill battle, but you've got to at least make the effort to try and grind something out of that defense. Because if you let this thing, if you think that, if your plan going into this thing is to win it 54-52 or whatever the score was last night with the Rams and Chiefs, man, forget it. But just stay home. You're not going to be able to run that kind of track meet with Clemson. Just forget it.
Well, I mean, that could be the motto of this game. There is no conceivable football explanation for how South Carolina can win the game. Now, if you get Trevor Lawrence rattled, if he just plays a bad game, if for whatever reason, Clemson's not running the football effectively, because I really think that's the key to their offense is just running the football.
Well, when ATN is averaging 9 yards a carry every Saturday.
But again, the safeties we're going to be bringing up, they're not even safeties. They're literally not. One of them isn't even a defensive player. There is nobody left on this defense.
So what did you say? You're playing your 8th-string DB now?
8th-string safety. Shi Smith may play at safety. J.C. Horn's going to apparently start at corner and be the backup safety. Nobody's left on this defense.
All the more reason to do everything you possibly can to keep that defense off the field for as long as you possibly can.
I get what you're saying, but, man, I'm talking about if you come out on 1st down – and you run the football, it's going to be 2nd and 10.
But that's not what I'm saying. Listen, I'm not a coach. I'm not in the coaching room. I'm not designing the plays. All I'm saying.
Okay, well, let me just ask you. So South Carolina gets the ball first. That's almost assuredly going to happen because Clemson knows they want to put our offense on the field. They want Jake out there. They want that noise. They think their best matchup is their defense versus our offense. I can assure you. I mean, it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. If I'm Dabo Swinney and I win the toss, I'm going to defer.
I don't know. I think I'm taking the ball because I want South Carolina's defense on the field for as much as I can possibly put them out there.
Okay.
Before Jake Bentley takes a snap, I want them to be down. If I'm Swinney, I want them to be behind. Okay, but anyway, keep going with your point.
Okay, so South Carolina gets the ball first. It's 1st and 10 on the 25-yard line. What do you call? Because that first series is going to be everything.
I probably call trying to get some credit to get Debo out in space.
Okay,
a little swing pass, a little hitch. I do. So I'm not saying turn around and hand the ball off in 3 yards in a cloud of dust and punt.
So what you're saying is, obviously try not to. So on 1st down, you do agree that it almost always needs to be a run play. I mean, a pass play.
I'm not. I'm not saying just dumb your offense down to nothing. There are creative ways to get the ball out in space, to eat up clock without turning around and handing the ball off to a 240-pound fullback every time. I'm not saying let's go back to the wing T here. I'm just saying,
all right. I'm talking about running the plays that South Carolina runs. Their running offense, especially on 1st down, has been abysmal. But early in the season, there was a dogged determination to do that on 1st down. It's like I said. I think after the Texas A&M game, the typical South Carolina possession back then was run the ball for no yardage on 1st down, throw an incomplete pass on 2nd down because they know you're going to throw, and then on 3rd and 10, you throw a 6-yard route and you punt on 4th and 4. I mean, I get what you're saying, but there's not going to be any downfield passing. There's not going to be any 7-step drops against this Clemson defense. You're not standing in that pocket. That ball has got to come out fast.
All right, so how does South Carolina not give up 60 Saturday night?
I don't see a way. I don't. Like you said, if Clemson punts in this game, I will be shocked. I will be shocked. I mean, because you're hurt at the worst possible spot. You're hurt at your deep safeties. And if you watch Clemson's offense, lots of teams have contained their offense for 12, 14 plays. Okay? They always hit a 40-yard pass route. Always. When their backs are just a little bit against the wall. And I think most of that is trying to stop ETN out of the backfield.
That or ETN breaks off and gets into that second level and breaks off his long
run. It's the fear
run.
of him that creates win. And we have no safeties. It's an awful situation for South Carolina.
Please, Alabama, save us. Save us.
What is that? What's that mean?
Because nobody but Alabama is going to beat them. So if I don't want Clemson
I don't think Clemson has much of a chance against Alabama at all. I think standing in a 5, just standard quarterback with no run threat in the backfield, that's a whole different argument. Clemson's offense right now against a team that can scheme it, I mean, they're really good, but they're not Deshaun Watson good.
The last couple weeks, tell me if you agree with this. You watch Clemson, and to me, the last couple weeks, they're just trying to get through things. They're trying.
You could make the argument they've been trying to get through the whole season.
But there for a stretch, I think it was after the Syracuse game, they went a couple weeks where they were just drilling people. In the last 2 weeks, they got off to a slow start a little at Boston College. They got off to a slow start Saturday. Any chance they get off to a little bit of a slow start this Saturday to let you guys hang around?
There is a chance, because I don't think that Clemson takes South Carolina nearly as seriously as their fans do.
I don't think they do either.
I mean, why would they? You have mauled this team 2 years in a row. So your coaches, Dabo did his thing today, 4-hour press conference where he talks about, Will's making a lot of progress there, blah, blah, blah. I don't think his players believe a word of that. The question is, does it matter? Does it matter? I mean, I don't know. I think there's a chance, and that's what I was getting at. That's really the chance, is that Clemson comes out flat and lets South Carolina jump on a kick return for a touchdown, something like that. But the thing is, too, there aren't going to be 600 South Carolina fans in that stadium. Nobody's heading up there.
Well, heck, I think I got a buddy. He's got season tickets to Carolina. Last year he sold his claim. He didn't even bother going down there last year. I think he sold the Georgia game this year.
The only prayer, like I said, whatever it would take to get a freshman quarterback who has immense talent but has not really been in a competitive situation. No. Is to somehow get him into a competitive situation. I don't know. I mean, and I don't know how it can happen. Like I said, there's no football explanation. The thing about this rivalry, and people say, well, you can throw the records out of the book. Actually, with Clemson and Carolina, that's absolutely not the case. The better team almost always wins this. Almost always. It's just been really rare for both teams to be good at once.
I agree. For Will Muschamp is a defensive man. That was what he kind of built his reputation on. It's got to be eating him away that the defense is seen as a weak link on this team. Man, like I said, other than Jim Harbaugh, I don't think that there's a coach in the country who needs a big-time win more than Muschamp. I hope he can get it Saturday. I hope he can, but I'm not I wouldn't bet any significant amount of money on it.
I wouldn't bet $1 on it. I mean, I might need that dollar. I mean,
that dollar would get you a nice cheer wine, from the machine at the gas
But I'll
station.
tell you this. I mean, as a guy who knows that if I live another 40 years, I'm going to spend all 40 of them pulling for South Carolina, right? So I use a game like this as, it's a water temperature test. You're going to lose the game. But does South Carolina show some backbone? Do they show up? And, that's fascinating to me as a fan.
I was going to say, I hope, because if they come out Saturday and they get blistered again, that's 3 years in a row, that's 3 Muschamp teams in a row. I know you don't hold the first one against them, but it still counts.
Oh, sure.
And, that's 3 years in a row Clemson's blistered them. Georgia's, I know the game a couple years ago was close late, but they both, all 3 of them have ended up at least 2 touchdown games. He's got to beat somebody, man. The pressure going into next year is going to be
let's be honest.
He's got to beat somebody.
If Clemson beats them by 2 touchdowns, I'll take that.
Well, I'll say if that thing winds up being 31-17, I think that's
progress.
You count that as a win.
Yeah, that's progress.
Start off our picks list.
And that's just where, man, that might be funny. If I was a Clemson fan, I'd be laughing at that right now. But that's where it is right now. That's where it is.
In the Big 12, there's 3 teams left with the potential to make their title game. 2 of them are playing this Saturday. Oklahoma going to West Virginia. West Virginia, I wanted West Virginia to win out and win the Big 12 and sneak in the back door of the playoffs so bad for some reason. And they just completely pooped the bed last Saturday. So their playoff picture is out, but maybe they can keep Oklahoma out. The Mountaineers are getting a 1.5 at home, BG. I think this one's going to be a scoring shootout classic.
Yeah, I'm assuming that means you want me to pick first. Oh, Lord. I'm going to go with West Virginia in this one. It's at West Virginia. I think they've got a lot more momentum, and despite the fact that Will Grier should be playing for South Carolina Saturday night, he's not. But he's I'm assuming you read that story, right?
No.
He requested to go to South Carolina, and the SEC turned him down.
When he was transferring from Florida.
Yeah, when he was transferring. Anyway, West Virginia, not a team that's gotten a lot of press, despite what they've done. I wouldn't be surprised if they've got a little chip on their shoulder. Dana Holgorsen, the best haircut in football. Yeah, I'll go with the Volunteers. The Mountaineers. Sorry,
I'm going to go Oklahoma in this one. I think
you always go Oklahoma.
Well, I copy you last. Last year you went with Oklahoma every week. This year I'm going with Oklahoma every week. Like I said, the Sooners, I think you're going to wind up with Oklahoma and Texas, round 2 in the Big 12 title game. I think the Oklahoma's ultimately going to wind up winning that, and they're going to put some pressure on the playoff committee. I think if they're going to West Virginia, I'll give you the 1.5. They're going to win that one. But like I said, I think it's going to be a shootout. It's going to be a fun one to watch Friday night. Also Friday night, Mike Leach still hanging around the playoff picture. The Apple Cup up in Pullman. The Huskies going to play Washington State on the road. The Cougs are giving up 3 points. Give me the Huskies in this one.
I think the Huskies all day long.
This one just looks like it's time. The playoff picture always has a way of sorting itself out.
Yep.
And this time of year, teams start falling off and hanging
around
Washington
the
State
very edge of that at the very least.
Yes.
I mean, I think that ends this week.
The big one, playoff implications abound because the winner of this goes to the Big Ten title game. They're going to get a 4-loss Northwestern team. They're going to win the Big Ten title by 2 touchdowns probably. Michigan at Ohio State. I think I read where this is the first time in like 50-something games. I think the last time Urban Meyer was an underdog was the national title game against Oregon a few years ago. And, of course, we know what happened. They ran Oregon out of the stadium. The Buckeyes are getting 4.5 points at home in this one, BG.
I'll tell you, everything everybody's saying is pointing one direction. You know how I feel about that?
Bet the other way.
I'm going to take the Buckeyes in the points.
And I think Michigan wins the game, but I see this being something like a 31-28, 35-32 kind of thing.
I'm not sure Michigan wins this game. There's just something weird about
They had their hands full. Indiana gave them a run for their money the other week.
Yeah, they certainly need to win it.
Well, I'll say this. Since they've started this playoff deal, the last couple weeks, the last week of the season, conference championship week, there's always been some jumble and teams shuffling around.
Right.
Playoff rankings, when they come out later tonight, they're going to look the same as they did last week. They're probably going to look the same as they did the week before. If Michigan wins this, they'll win the Big Ten. Notre Dame's going to pound Southern Cal, which means the playoff rankings basically would not have changed outside of that first week when I think they did that just for entertainment purposes only, because I think the 4 they have now should have been the 4 then. I agree with you. I think this is going to be a tight one, but I think Jim Harbaugh, I think he finds a way to get the win Saturday. I'm not.
I hope he does
points
just to keep that rivalry interesting because it's not right now.
I'm not giving the 4.5 points. I'm taking Ohio State the points, but I think Michigan wins.
You feel like
a tight one.
Both of these
because he's got to win one, right?
This whole Harbaugh versus Meyer thing, it's about to be over anyway. I think both of those coaches could be gone in 2 seasons.
There's talk Urban Meyer's not coming back
that's what I'm
next year.
saying. That's why I said both in 2 seasons.
Here's one. I don't know even why this is still on the list. NC State going to North Carolina. The line on this one has gone up 0.5 point since we first put together our picks list. The Tar Heels getting 7 points at home in the finale. A big win over Western Carolina this past weekend. I say that with all sarcasm.
Yeah.
It was not great. The stadium was not full. We said weeks ago, I think this team is going to beat somebody. I don't know, man. I don't know if they are or not. At home, I'll take the Tar Heels in the 7 points, but I'd love to see them get the win to close out the year, but this may or may not be Larry Fedora's swan song in Chapel Hill.
You know what, man? I'm tired of you snookering on me this. I'm taking the Wolfpack. I think I've missed every single game I've picked North Carolina in this year. Man, forget the Tar Heels.
That's your own fault for listening to me. What do I know? And finally, South Carolina at Clemson. The Tigers 20 was it? It's up
26
to 26 and a half. BG, I'm taking Clemson. I'll give the 26 and a half. I have a hard time believing this thing is going to be anything closer than 4 touchdowns because of the reasons I gave you before.
Yeah.
Everything that you would think South Carolina would have to do, they are terrible at.
Yes.
They're terrible at. Clemson at 4 touchdowns at the bare minimum. They pound the Gamecocks.
I just think Clemson scores on big plays. I think they have multiple 40 and 50-yard runs.
I hope I'm wrong, man. I hope this is a great game.
Can't you just see that game getting out of hand almost immediately? I can see our safeties
like last year
being turned around, hips the wrong way, undisciplined. I would love to take South Carolina to keep this game within 20 points. I just can't do it.
I knew I'd persuade you. Yesterday you were telling me
there'd
be 2 touchdowns, but
the score I picked. What
I
I did is I picked the score without figuring up the point differential. I've got South Carolina on that. I think I said it would be Clemson 41, South Carolina 27. And I'm giving Jake in that offense some credit and saying that they'll score some points, maybe late points. I don't know. But sitting here right now, I don't. You didn't convince me.
TanMan convinced me.
You did nothing.
As I did.
You did nothing.
That's it for episode 82. Again, we want to thank everyone for tuning in. Our numbers are skyrocketing. It's all because of you guys, so we appreciate it. Go give us a follow on Twitter. You can email your picks into CarolinaBorderWar@gmail.com. You can get them in on Twitter at the Border War or Facebook or listen to the show however you listen. Spreaker.
You like that completely silent sneeze I just pulled off? I could have sneezed right into the microphone, man. I can't see right now, but I know you've got your little sound button there. You're very cute. That's amazing.
That's it, guys. We are out of here.
Go Wolfpack. Give me a game. Pick up a game here.
Should have been picking them. I want to tell you, they stink.